Today on the Shattered Podcast, I have Bryan Bargas.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Bryan, for coming to give your testimony. Let's start with you talking a little bit about your childhood.
Okay. I grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Um, at the age of about a year old, my grandparents had adopted me and two sisters, and we grew up in church. We went to a Free Will Baptist Church, Garden Heights, there in Sand Springs, Oklahoma. And my childhood, my family, my grandparents, they didn't have a lot of money. They, we had things for Christmas. You know, we had a roof over our head. We had a place to sleep. Um, but the love that my grandparents had showed for me and my two sisters, for all of our family, was worth more than
Money.
money could buy. We didn't have a whole lot. My granddad, he worked every day. He had a bad heart, but he got out, he mowed yards, he umpired baseball, softball. He was just a really outgoing person. And my grandmother, we always had kids from the church. She raised tons of kids. The church, she would babysit neighbor kids. So we all grew up, having a good time in church with all lots of families. So we, I'm thankful for them for adopting us. Unfortunately, my mother, she done the best that she could, but times were tough, and she had to do what she had to do. So you know,
And your biological dad was in prison.
yes, he was in prison, and it was kind of a thing that, and I didn't really realize it until I didn't know that he was in prison until I started receiving letters. He would write my sisters and I, and we would write a few letters, and I got a picture of him in the mail of that he had gotten married in prison. He was in McAllister State Prison, and he'd sent me a letter saying that would like to meet up with us. So when he got released from prison, the first time he come to us, we met him, and we had a real good time. It wasn't, he didn't force nothing about, call me dad, or
Right.
he told us, he told me that he had made some bad decisions, which we all make bad decisions. We're all
Right.
human. So we kind of had a good start there. Well, then he got, I believe he got locked back up for a few more years, on an older case, but so we lost contact, and then I guess it was up about, I was up, well, I was about the age where I could, take care of myself, buy my own clothes, so I could
Right.
provide for myself when he come back into my life. And my mother, she was always around. We'd see her. She was always there. She just, she couldn't really, I guess, financially or whatever, she couldn't,
Right.
which my grandparents just took it upon them. And, my mother's a really good person. I love her to death, and she'd done anything in the world for us, but after, my dad went back to prison, I just kind of lost all contact with him. And I guess it was probably 12, 13 years before I'd heard from him again.
Wow.
So, and actually, I just heard from him a couple weeks ago. So he's doing good. He's living in a nursing home in Sapulpa, Oklahoma, and so it's all good.
Yeah. How old were you when your grandfather died?
I was he died September the 9th in '99. So I guess I was 18. I just graduated high school, and when you know, my grandpa, he was my go-to guy. He was the guy that he was my dad.
Right.
He's the one that taught me everything. He took me hunting at a young age, took me fishing, took me, we was always together.
Mm-hmm.
He was a boxing coach and a boxing instructor for the high school that I went to. So we always, was messing around and doing that kind of stuff. And he would always set me straight. You know, when he'd see me starting to veer off course, he would resort back to, you know, getting me to church, and
Right.
you know, he was deacon in the church, and him and our pastor at the church they was like always together. They was, you know, they would come over and cut up, and they'd sit at the house, and my grandmother would fix the best fajitas, you know, in the world that you could ever even ask for, and we'd sit there on Sundays and eat and just cut up and have a good time. And but you know, when my dad passed away, it was not I guess because of the reason it was on my birthday, but it really took a toll on me, being that you know, at a young age,
Right.
and it was like I turned to being mad at God because I couldn't figure out why he would take my best friend away.
Right.
He would take the man that I needed the most, because when he died, I felt like I didn't have anybody.
Right.
And that's when I turned to, you know, trying to step outside of the box, you
He
know.
was lashing out.
Yes, and you know, we wasn't sheltered. We was just kept out of harm's way.
Right.
But you know, when he died, I started, you know, trying to go around doing a little drinking. You know, I smoked a little pot, but it just never done anything for me. The drinking never got anything. So you know, I had gotten married to my first wife, and got into trouble. You know, she had accused me of stealing some rings and stuff, and taking them to a pawn shop, which I you know, we'd met her there, and it's kind of a setup deal where she knew what she was doing. She didn't have her license or none of that, so I pawned some stuff for her, you know, and she after I left, she pressed charges. You know, well, the lawyer found the video, you know, and so they dropped all the charges on me. And my aunt and uncle live in McCurtain County, in Idabel. And my aunt had got a hold of me and said, "Hey, we want you to come live with us. And if you come live with us, we'll send you to college. We'll pay for all your college, and you know, give you a place to stay and get you going, right, you know." So I thought about it. You know, I thought, well, this is something, because my uncle, you know, he's a game warden in McCurtain County, so you know, plenty of hunting, plenty of fishing,
Right.
you know, just a good life. So I told him, I said, okay, yeah, I'll do it. So I moved to McCurtain County in November of 2000, and got me a job working for the Coca-Cola plant, and started going to school. I was going to school I wanted to be a highway patrol. So I got enrolled for classes for criminal justice. And I met my second wife. This was my kids' mama. And ended up having our first child. And I knew that I couldn't provide for her and have a child and go to school. So I quit the school, you know, didn't drop out. I just quit going to college and went to work, you know, full time doing land surveying. And, you know, I was doing good, making money, and we had a second child, my son. And I started trying to find a way to make more money. And I couldn't really find a way to make, you know, ends meet. We had a house, we both had vehicles, the kids had everything, but I was still looking for more, you know, and I kept trying to find a replacement for my dad. So I kept looking around. Well, I finally got into to where I bought my first motorcycle. And I was riding around through town, and I seen a guy riding a motorcycle that had a vest, and he had patches on his back. And he and I got talking to one another, and he talked to me about, you know, coming and riding with the motorcycle group that he was in. I thought, well, yeah. So I started riding around with them, and I could kind of feel a connection with these guys. And it wasn't, they was just a little old mom and pop, just a on the weekend type deal. But I didn't know that what I was doing, and it turned into more. And I guess in about 2008, or 2007, 2008, somewhere in there, I joined a one percenter outlaw motorcycle gang. And these guys offered all kinds of stuff to me, it felt like what I was looking for, what I wanted.
Right.
They claimed it was brotherhood and family was first and all this, and I just thought that that's what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So I signed up and I joined this one percenter motorcycle club, and that's where I got introduced to methamphetamines. I had been with these guys for about 8.5 years, riding motorcycles, and we went everywhere, done things and seen places and seen things. And I had a problem with my heart, where I had they found that I had atrial fibrillation, and so got it all taken care of and started riding. And I went out to a run, and we went to I believe it was Moab, Utah, and I got out there, and that's where some things went bad. They guys told me, said, I walked in and they told me, they said that, there was dope on the table, and one of the guys that I'd ridden with, I had fought with, we had been, and this is a guy that I trusted, that he was the guy that I thought was as close to my dad. And he told me, he's like, man, he said, that's for you. That dope on the table's for you. And I said, man, no disrespect, but with my heart the way it is, I said, I don't, and
Was it meth?
yes. And they grabbed me and they put a gun to my head. And they told me, they said, you either snort this line of dope or you're a cop, and you know what happens. And I knew what would happen.
Right.
And I'd been there for about 8 years. And so I snorted that line of dope, and it was crazy. But after I could, make it back on my own from Moab, Utah, back to Idabel, Oklahoma, I rode all the way back, no sleep, still on meth. And when I got back, I called them and said, guys, I said, the things that I have done for y'all, the things that, it had all just dissipated. It was not a brotherhood. It was not, it was more of a, you do what we say,
right,
or what we need, but for being with somebody for that long, and they knew that I wasn't a cop. They knew that the things that I'd done, how could they put me, or why would they put me in that situation?
right.
Because there had been times where if I hadn't been there and done what I had done, this guy may have not ever made it home to see his little girl.
Right.
So I told him, I said, that's not a brotherhood. That's not what I'm looking for. Well, I didn't know that meth was as addicting as it is. So I started looking for meth. Meth, the first time I'd done it, it was the best thing I had found. And I thought it was anyway. And my kids' mama, she couldn't handle my actions. I was, always gone. I was always, I wasn't there for her. I would take the money instead of paying the bills. I would take that and just spend it however I could to find dope,
right,
to get high. And she, there was a few times where she, divorced or split up, but the thing that got me the most is and when I finally realized for a little bit, that is when she loaded my kids up and she left me. And honestly, that was one of the best things she could have ever done, because of the type of person that I was.
right.
It wasn't good for her, and it wasn't good for my kids.
Mm-hmm.
So at the time I hated her for it. I couldn't believe what she had done, but it wasn't her fault. She'd done the best
Right.
thing possible for her and her the kids. So, you know, she left, and it got a lot worse. I started moving around, finding just anything I could do, stealing, whatever, just to get my next high.
Right.
And so here, well, she had left, and I'd met another girl, and she didn't know anything about the drugs. She was a good girl. When I was still riding motorcycles, and I think that's one of the things that attracted her to me is the fact of me riding a motorcycle,
Right.
and she wanted that, I guess, so to speak, the bad boy image is what she was looking for. And my whole intentions was, because I was trying to live two lives, not letting her know that I was addicted to methamphetamines. So, but my intentions was to let her try it. And so I told her that I was selling drugs, and I was going back and forth bringing in, lots of meth from different places, and having all kinds of people over. And I wasn't really thinking it all through, because I didn't realize that, she had two kids and I had two kids, and there wasn't very many times that they was all at the house together, but there was times that they was, and I was still doing the things that I was doing,
Right.
and putting my kids in danger, her kids in danger, and it was, you know, and she got to, asking about what I was doing, and so I just went ahead and told her, and she asked me, you know, to try it, and I thought, well, now I don't have to live this double life. I can, let her try it, and if she likes it, it'll be fine. We'll get along. Well, she tried it, and she liked it, but we didn't get along. It just made things worse. I turned into this monster again. I was mean to her. I never was mean to any of the kids, but just the things, I would, in front of the kids, we'd argue or something
Right.
and stuff like that, and it was just, it wasn't a good place for the kids to be.
Not a healthy environment.
Right, exactly. So in, I guess it was 2011, her and I got arrested for some stolen property that we'd pawned and stuff, and it was it was actually on the first ever racketeering case tried on a state level in McCurtain County, Oklahoma, and done a year in McCurtain County jail before they released us, and I thought everything was good when we got out. It was going to be everything was going to be back to the way it was. But about 3 months before we'd gotten out, she had wrote me a letter and told me that had already, and I'd got letters in through the court liaison officer that he'd brought me divorce papers, and so I was getting divorced in jail, and it was, it just it really devastated me, because when we went in, everything was good,
Right.
but it wasn't good, because I'd been, mistreating her, talking to her, and it wasn't a healthy environment for her.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we got released, I'd talked to her a few times, and we had been clean for over a year, being locked up. So I had a clean way of thinking. And she told me, she said, we need a break. You need to get yourself right. I need to get myself right, and I need to get my kids. And so I thought about it, and so we went our separate ways. And, my mom had come down, and she bought me a pickup when I got out, kind of a gift to, you're doing good. Let's
Right.
keep you on the same track. You know, my aunt that I'd moved to, she had gotten me a really good job. And I was working for a construction company rebuilding dams at lakes. And, you know, I would bring home, I think the lowest check I ever brought home was 3,500 on a week. So I was making good money. And I wanted to do good for myself. But too much, I guess it was too much alone time with myself.
Right.
And too much alone time with the amount of money in my pocket and not having nothing to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of spending it on my kids or taking care of business the way I should, I went back and saw a buddy, and he had what I was looking for. And so I didn't, I tried to hide it the best I could, because I enjoyed working this job, but you can only hide it for so long. And you
Right.
think you're hiding it, but you're really not.
Right.
People know. So I would get off work Friday morning, and I would go buy 7 grams of meth Friday morning, and by Wednesday or Thursday, I would go pick up another 7 grams, and this was just for me to, and so it was taking a toll on me, and in that time I'd met this girl, which is my wife now, and her and I was, I met her and through some friends, and it was kind of a funny deal, I told a buddy of mine, I said, look, I like this girl, I'm gonna take, and he told me, he said, no, he said, she's not that way, I said, yeah, and I kept offering her dope, and at first time, when I first saw her in this house, she was on a computer, and she told me no a couple times, and I
She didn't use drugs.
yeah, she did.
She did.
But she told me she didn't at first, and I kept, every time we'd pass the pipe around, she'd look at me. Well, I finally handed it to her, and she finally joined in, And I told a buddy of mine that was there. I said, here in a minute, I said, I'm gonna load her up. We're gonna go to the river, and we're just gonna have a good time. And he said, no. And I said, look, if she don't get in the truck with me and go swimming with me, you can have all my dope. And I looked at her, and I asked her if you want to go swimming. And it wasn't no time. She was in the truck ready to go. And we spent, I don't know, probably a week down on the river, just her and I having a good time. And we, since that day, her and I we've been together. But the whole time that her and I have been together, we was in our addiction. And I'm thankful now that she has stayed with me, because while we was in our addiction, I was mean to her. I mistreated her. I was a very bad person to this girl, and I don't. Sometimes I would feel like I didn't deserve her.
Right.
That she deserved better than what I was doing for her. But when I'd met her, I told her the type of guy I could be, and this is the type of guy that she wanted.
Right.
And so but I was always in our addiction, and I never really showed her that person that I wanted to be, or that I could be. And so we was together, there for the longest time. We lived out of my truck on creek banks in the woods, just, we didn't have nothing. We'd go to the donut shop after the day was over, and they'd throw all their donuts away. Well, they'd set them out, and we'd set them in the truck, and that's what we'd eat on when we eat, but it was always trying to find our next high, trying to find our next high.
That was the most important thing.
That was the main thing. And we've got into trouble together. My wife and I have done quite a bit of things together to now, since now that we're changed, and we look back, we laugh at the things or I do laugh at the things that we used to do. And unfortunately, I still have the thoughts in my head of the type of person that I was. And funny thing happened yesterday that some of the things that I had done or said to her, I thought that her and I was the only ones that knew about it. And yesterday it was brought to my attention that I wasn't. A guy that I was with, he told me, he said something about, about my anger problem, being in addiction, and that I had a real bad anger problem. And I said, yeah. I said, which I kind of hesitated at first and told him, wanted to tell him that I didn't have an anger problem, but he knew.
Meth brings it out of you.
Meth brings it out of you big time. And he said, yeah, we've all been on meth, and we've all driven to Rock Creek, and we've all, beat our women in the woods. And I looked at him and I said, how did you know about this? And he said, trust me, I know. He said, I've been there. I've done the same thing. And this was something, that I thought that there was only my wife and I had knew.
Wow.
The thing, but it wasn't. He knew all about it. And how he knew about it, I don't know. It doesn't matter. But he knew. But, we've come a long ways since Miranda and I got arrested. I went to McCurtain County, and she got here and she signed up for the RSET program. And so she started going through the program, and when I got out, I told her that I would be there for her. And when she got out, I would do whatever, because I wanted to make her the woman that I knew she could be, and I wanted to be the man that I knew that I could be, and that together, we could have a bond, because what we've been through, and start a new life together that would be so strong. But I knew that the only way that I could do that is bringing my family to God. And we when she got out of the class, we started going to church at DeQueen First Assembly. And the first time that I went there, I felt the Holy Spirit in me, and I started trembling, I started shaking, and my wife asked me. She said, she was holding on to my arm, and she said, "What's wrong?" And I said, I told her, I said, it's just something. It's time to go to the altar, And the Holy Spirit had got a hold of me, and we went up there, and it changed my life. And I don't know, there's so much good things that have happened to us here in the past few months. Going to church, we go to church, we go to CR. Matter of fact, this weekend, as of today, we're moving into our own home. We're doing good. We have money in my pocket to buy what we need. We have groceries, we have gas in my truck, and we're not having to go steal gas cans off of people's porches.
Right.
We're not having to go. We don't even. God has taken all that away from us, and I know He has strongly for me, because I've started to do more, get more involved in the church, get more involved in the jail, in programs and stuff, and it's because the RSAT program, I never got to go through it. I would have loved to, but all the meetings and all the stuff, I've taken it upon myself to go, because I want to be a better person.
Right.
I started doing the Authentic Manhood class, and that is an awesome class for any man.
And that's at the jail.
That's it. Well, they're doing it at First Baptist Church.
Okay.
And I tell you what, it's a very, very good. I thought I was a good man, a good father. But I was nowhere close, and I'm still not where I want to be. But this class is just over the top. It has opened my eyes. It makes me want to do more.
Right.
And but God has done so much for us here recently, till it's it's amazing at what you can transform from to what we are now, you know, to the point that it's just people can tell. You know, we stopped today at a place that I used to work for here, and a lady, she said, "I'm so proud of you guys because of what you have become."
Right.
You know, and it's just, you know, I'm excited. I'm, you know, just I really look forward to what's next. You know, I want the next thing.
And you have your kids in your life.
Well, I haven't yet. I'm still trying to, you know, get to that point. But
You're working on it.
yes, yes. I just got back in contact with my mom and my real dad, and you know, it's kind of a step deal. I'm trying to do things as God tells me, you know, and that's what I'm trying to do that way.
Right. Because you have to take care of yourself first.
Yes, yes, and they tell you, you know, it's all about, you know, it's not being greedy, but it is being greedy. You have to fix yourself before you can try
Right.
to fix anything else.
Absolutely.
And you know, I catch myself sometimes trying to fix other people, or offering things that help me, but it could set them back. And so I have to stop myself from trying, and you know, not saying that I'm not worried about them, because I am worried about them. But you know, I have to worry about myself first, and hopefully, you know, the way, you know, it'll all, when I talk to my kids and stuff, you know, that they will understand that Dad had to fix himself before he could be the true dad to us.
Right.
You know, and my kids, they're very special to me. You know, we got a very beautiful daughter and a son which I guess I left an impression on him because he looks identical to me. So he's an amazing young boy, and I want to be there for him. But I want to be there the right way for them. I want to be the dad that they should have always had.
Right.
You know, the dad that adopted me, the man that adopted me. That's what I want for my kids. You know, and that's what I look forward to. That one day when everything is all said and done with, that my kids will think back and say, "Dad, thank you for doing the things that you've done
Right.
to you know, become more involved in our lives and to be there for us."
Right.
And that's what I want.
Where do you see yourself 5 years from now?
5 years from now, I see myself in a big jacked up brand new Chevy truck, with a nice house, some land for my kids and my wife's kids to have their own house on. But I honestly, I'll be right here in DeQueen, Arkansas. This place is a part of what changed me, and so I'll be right here. But I will have things, and hopefully doing a lot more in the church, and doing a lot more in the community to help people, because the drugs that they have out here, which is not just meth, but any of it, you know, you never know what you're getting.
Absolutely.
And there's people getting stuff every day that's killing people, that's killing kids, and that's really not what they're thinking they're getting. And so, you know, if there's something that I can do to talk to anybody or to tell somebody the things, I mean, it's not worth it. That what you're getting is not worth it. You might think it is, but it's really not.
Right.
It's really not.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Uh,
You've had, listening to your story, your family, your aunt and uncle and your grandparents. I mean, you've got such a good family background.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. And my family, you know, they, you know, I've got two little brothers that I haven't talked to or seen in quite a few years. You know, the last time that I seen my two brothers, they knew that something was wrong with me. They could tell that I wasn't their brother. And my older brother, he's my younger brother, but he's right younger than me. They both had taken me to a bar, and and they wanted to get into a fight with a bunch of guys, and I kept telling them, no, these guys. And my brother finally sat down, and he told me, he said, I'm worried about it. And he started crying, in tears in this bar in front of everybody. And he said, I want my brother back. And I guess that was really the last time that I talked to him, because he knew, and I knew that he knew.
Right.
And I felt like I had let everybody down, which I did, but in the end, they've never stopped loving me. They've never stopped caring about me.
They just couldn't be around you and
They
see
just
what
could
you were
exactly,
doing to yourself.
Exactly. And I look back at it now, and I'm thankful that, because my mom had told me one time that when we went up there, and a bunch of us rode motorcycles up there, and she had asked me about it, and I tried to, I lied to her and tell her, I'm good, well, why are you losing so much weight and this and that, and
She knew.
yeah, she knew, but and it was the little tricks and stuff that you would try, I would try and get them to send me money, tell them my electric bill, and a few times it worked, tell them my electric bill or my water bill,
Right.
so that's so they would send me money
For drugs.
For drugs, yes, and I thought that I was hiding it. That they might think it, but they didn't know. But in the end, they did.
Right.
And that's what the support that, which like I said, I'm just now getting back in contact with them, but they're still here. They're still there for me.
Where do your brothers live?
They live. I believe they live in Sand Springs, Oklahoma, still, and my mother, she's living with my sister in Tahlequah, Oklahoma, and then I've got another sister that lives in Sapulpa. That I talked to her when the first time I seen my dad, and he's in a nursing home. But I seen him on voice or on video chat, and she told me that her and her husband was fixing to move my dad in out of the nursing home with her, and so I plan on we'll get everything squared away, making a trip up to Oklahoma to see my family. I haven't actually seen my brothers and sisters, my mom. I haven't seen them in quite a few years, and I think that I talked to my mom and told her that I was coming up here today to do this, and she's so proud of me. She tells me that I'm looking good, and she's very proud of me, and which I knew, a mother's love is always going to be a mother's love.
Absolutely.
She's always loved me. Even though we've had our hard times and stuff, but
A mother's love, and I'm a mother.
Mm-hmm.
You might not like what your children do,
right.
but you always love them.
Mm-hmm. Even when I've said some things to my mom that I regret, but even now to this day, the things that I said, I know they hurt her, and be some things, we've had hurt feelings and stuff like that, but it's, I love her and she still loves me, and that'll never change no matter what. But to show them that I'm the person, I'm the son that she knew years ago, that I'm a better person than that now,
Right.
because I'm healthy, I'm drug free. I think last week we got our 8th month sober, clean and
Very
sober.
good.
So we're doing really good, and I figured about when we get our year sober is when I want to make a trip and go see them and just have a good time with them.
Right. Since it's been so long since you've seen your brothers and with your family in general, what message could you give them today?
My message for them today would be, God answers prayers. God, he can change things. If you give it to God, God can do anything, and He will do anything. And I don't know that they was praying for me, but if they said a prayer for me, then, I thank them because God answered those prayers. And another part to them, I'm doing great. I'm doing, and I want them to see that I'm the brother, or I'm the son, or the cousin or uncle. My sister just had a new baby, and I want to show them that the type of uncle or whatever I can
Right.
be for them. And so don't get discouraged for me. I want to, because when I'm ready, I want to go to them and show them the new me,
Right.
the new person that God has transformed me to be.
Well, I feel like they're praying for you, and they're
Yes.
going to be anxious to see
Oh
you.
yeah, and I'm excited. We got a lot of new things coming up, and it's real exciting. It really is. I can't wait for what happens next.
Good. Thank you very much, Bryan, for coming in
Thank
today.
you for having me. Thank you.
Very good. Please support our sponsor, renovationtea.com. You'll find a large variety from daily to specific herbal remedy teas, all certified organic and fair trade. Use code SHATTERED and you'll get a 10% discount. You could see the link below. Hi, I'm Dee. I'm the host of the Shattered Podcast. Please like, subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell on the notifications so you won't miss an episode. I'm very passionate about helping families. If you are an expert that would like to help or would like to share your testimony, please contact me. Thank you.